Leafs Nation. This is one of those rumors that makes you sit back and go, wait, are we really talking about this? Victor here, because the name being linked to Toronto right now is not a small one. It's not a depth guy. It's not a quiet rental. It's Evander Kane. And depending on how you feel about him, this could either be a sneaky low-risk playoff weapon or a move that completely shifts the tone of this locker room. This matters because we're heading toward the trade deadline in a season that's already been emotional, inconsistent, and honestly, confusing at times. Every move from here on out feels like it defines what this team actually is. Before we break this down, do me a quick favor, hit that like button and subscribe. We're pushing towards 700 subscribers, and if you're a real Leafs fan who lives and breathes this stuff daily, help us get there. This channel is growing because of you. All right, let's talk about Evander Kane potentially coming to Toronto. So here's what's happening. The Vancouver Canucks are in sell mode. They've already moved major pieces, and now reports are saying that Evander Kane is one of the players they're willing to move before the deadline. Kane is 34 years old, in the final year of his contract at $5.125 million. And according to Chris Johnston, Vancouver is even willing to retain salary. That's huge. Because if the Canucks eat 50% of that contract, suddenly Kane becomes financially realistic for a team like Toronto, especially with injuries impacting the roster and potential outgoing moves freeing up space. Now, let's be honest about Kane. He hasn't had his best year in Vancouver. After being dealt from Edmonton in the summer, he never really found a consistent groove. But this is still a power forward who has proven playoff-level scoring ability. This is a guy who plays physical, gets to the dirty areas, and doesn't shy away from big moments. And if you think about Craig Berub's style, physical, direct, heavy hockey, Kane fits that mold almost perfectly. From a pure hockey standpoint, this feels like a low-risk, high-reward move. If he comes in, brings energy, hits everything that moves, chips in secondary scoring, and adds some snarl to a team that at times has looked a little too easy to play against, that's a win. If it doesn't work, he's on an expiring deal. You move on. That's why this is interesting. But here's where it gets complicated. This isn't just about cap hits and draft picks. This is about culture. Toronto has been in the middle of a quiet identity shift. We've seen talk about selling assets. We've seen rumors about major core changes. The room is sensitive right now. Adding Kane changes the temperature. He's intense. He plays on the edge. He brings personality. Sometimes controversy. Some fans will love it. Some will absolutely hate it. But here's my honest take as a Leafs fan. Right now, we need bite. We've seen what happens when this team gets pushed around in the playoffs. We've seen what happens when the games tighten up and space disappears. Kane doesn't disappear. If Vancouver really is only asking for something like a third-round pick and possibly taking back a roster player, that's not a massive gamble. And here's the other layer. If Toronto decides to sell high on Bobby McMann, which has been rumored heavily, replacing that physical secondary scoring role with a buy-low version of Kane could make sense in the short term. You're flipping one asset into future value and bringing in a battle-tested forward to help stabilize the room for a playoff push. That's the kind of chess move that actually makes sense in a retool scenario. Still, it's a gamble. Because chemistry matters. The dressing room matters. And this team is already walking a tightrope between competing and resetting. So, what does this rumor really tell us? It tells us the Leafs aren't sitting still. It tells us management is looking at every possible way to adjust the identity of this team before March 6th. Evander Kane isn't a safe move. He's not a quiet depth addition. He's a statement. And if Toronto makes that move, it says one thing loud and clear. They're not going down without adding some edge. As a fan, I'm torn. Part of me loves the idea of adding grit and playoff snarl. Part of me worries about chemistry in a locker room that's already fragile. But one thing's for sure, standing still is not an option. This team either leans into a harder identity or risks fading out quietly. And if Kane comes here, it better be because we're choosing to compete, not just experiment. Now I want to hear from you. Would you bring Evander Kane to Toronto at 50% retained salary? Is this the edge we need? Or is it too risky? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk it out. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like and subscribe. We're closing in on 700 subscribers, and every single one of you makes Leafs Nation Report stronger. I'm Victor, and no matter what happens at the deadline, we're riding this roller coaster together. Go Leafs, go!